I want to discuss cost of leadership. What does that mean? Well, the cost of leadership is one of the very few truths that tends to not be shared as other aspects of leadership. And that's because leadership is a misunderstood concept in business. When we think of leadership, we think about titles, we think about authority, we think about compensation, we think about the tangible benefits of being a leader. But the cost of leadership isn't discussed. And what I mean by that is removing the titles, removing the salary, the authority. Leadership is a behavior. And I've had the privilege of interviewing several entrepreneurs, military heroes, business professionals, and public leaders. And while their backgrounds, their line of work varied, they all shared a similar characteristic, which is having a servant's heart. In other words, they genuinely cared about other people, not because they had to, not because it benefited them, because helping others succeed is part of who they are. And that's where leadership begins. Leadership begins when you place the needs of others. And by doing that, there's also a cost to your own being, because leadership begins when you, the servant leader, invest your time, energy, and attention into helping someone else become better. And the reality is, not everyone is built to be a leader. And that may sound harsh, but that's because the cost of leadership is your own sacrifice. A servant leader spends countless hours mentoring employees, coaching team members, advocating for their promotions, and creating opportunities for them. And sometimes even helping them navigate difficult moments in their careers and personal lives. Sometimes you're helping them survive financially, sometimes even emotionally survive a difficult season in their life. Sometimes you're helping position them to find another job if circumstances outside of their control put their employment at risk. That's what a servant leader does. They serve. What many leadership professionals, books, whatever, don't talk about is the self-sacrifice and, to be quite frank, the loneliness that comes with leadership. Because when difficult decisions need to be made, you're the one standing alone. When your team needs additional resources, you're the one presenting the business case. When an employee deserves a promotion, you're the one advocating for them. When budget cuts are proposed, again, you're the one fighting to protect your team. And when something goes wrong, you're the one held accountable. And so leadership requires taking risk on behalf of other people. It requires putting your reputation on the line. It requires standing in front of your boss, senior leadership, C-suite, whatever, and say, I believe in this person. I believe in this team. I believe this investment is worth making. And sometimes those risks pay off, and sometimes they don't. And that's the cost of leadership. Another cost of leadership is that not everyone you help will appreciate your time, your effort, the financial resources you've put in. You can spend years mentoring someone. You can help them get all the promotions, all the raises. You can introduce them to professionals that are outside of their realm, their universe, help sponsor them in professional groups, networks. You can coach them through some of their most challenging moments in their careers. And then one day they move on. Sometimes you never hear from them again. Sometimes they forget the sacrifices you made. Sometimes they don't realize the amount of invisible work that happened behind the scenes on their behalf. And if you're not careful, that can make you cynical. But servant leadership requires something different. It requires authentic desire to serve others without keeping score, without expecting recognition. It requires doing the right thing when nobody notices. Because leadership is not a transaction, it's authentic commitment. I've been in situations and I've seen situations where leaders care so much about their teams, they move quickly to complete time-sensitive projects, push so hard for improvements, and they go above and beyond the status quo. They set new standards, and they get incredible wins. And then they move on to other organizations where they do the same thing, but the organization itself gets uncomfortable with the progression, uncomfortable with the new standard. And sometimes leaders find themselves becoming separated from these organizations because they challenged old ways of thinking. Sometimes they advocated too strongly for their team. Sometimes they pushed progress a little too fast than what the organization is willing to accept. And when that happens, some of the people that the leaders, servant leaders, fought so hard for, protected, mentored, they'll disappear. They'll disappear for various reasons, self-preservation, political reasons, etc. And it's painful, but it's also reality. But the true question is whether you are willing to authentically lead regardless of the situation. Are you willing to remain authentically compassionate? Are you willing to continue investing in others? Are you willing to keep your promises? And are you willing to continue helping people, even knowing that not everyone will appreciate it? Because that's the difference between authentic leadership and management. Management focuses on processes. Authentic servant leadership focuses on people. And at the end of the day, true servant leaders don't serve because they're seeking recognition. They don't serve because they expect something in return. We serve because it is who we are. It is authentically us. And when we look in the mirror, at the end of the day, we know we did everything we could to help another human being succeed. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 27 reminds us, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. And as leaders, we are given opportunities to do just that.